on. I now call upon Representative Dr. Miller-Meeks, Iowa. Dr. Miller-Meeks, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Chair Takano and Ranking Member Bost, and thank you for all the panelists that are here presenting to us today. Certainly, we've heard a lot about VA infrastructure, and given what's happening currently in the construction market, I have some concerns. I've certainly heard from people throughout my district, home builders with access to housing, with the supply chain, that lumber, steel are all at all-time highs. So, Mr. Sims, the 4 medical centers that the VA most recently built took an average of 10.5 years from authorization to activation. Your major construction projects have been ongoing for more than 9 years on average. Your goal to open new leased clinics is about 5 years, and it typically takes longer. These timelines seem to be incredibly long. If the Biden infrastructure bill passes and the VA goes on a building boom, how are any of these hypothetical projects going to be completed in the timeframes needed?
Thank you for the question. So I think it's fair to say that we have made progress in some areas, but there's much work to do. For example, in the leasing program, major leases used to take 4 years from the point at which they were authorized to the point at which we awarded them. So the majority of the time was on VA side getting them awarded before it was ever started construction. We've cut that time down to 2 years. So we've cut it in half so that we're able to get those leases awarded and construction started in a much quicker time frame. We're looking to do similar things on the construction side for our major projects there. And a lot of it comes down to, as I mentioned before, ensuring that the designs and the standardization that we put into these facilities is executable by our industry partners, and that there aren't changing requirements that would cause unnecessary delays, both in time and in cost. So those are pieces of what we're working on. We're also looking at different ways to actually acquire the facilities. So things like the design bid build process that we used in the past, we're now looking at scenarios where we can do design build scenarios. So single contract awards, be able to execute much quicker, but that takes coordination with our industry partners and our federal partners like the Army Corps of Engineers. But we are working to streamline that delivery so that any funding moving forward, whether it be through the American Jobs Plan or our regular appropriation, we're executing so that those projects are on time and delivered sooner.
Thank you. And the normal process as to build a medical center is that the VA puts a prospectus in the budget, Congress authorizes it. Typically, we approve funding increments as the project moves along. The White House seems to want to do that backwards. In other words, for Congress to authorize all the projects and appropriate all the money up front. Is that an accurate characterization of the current proposal?
So let me ask clarification. Are you talking about the American Jobs Plan piece?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To be honest, we have not talked about the authorization component of that funding because we haven't identified the specific sites or projects that large scale dollars would be used for. The initial $3 billion of immediate need, we're not anticipating that would be used for major construction. That would be mostly non-recurring maintenance and minor construction that would not require the authorization piece. But yes, we will have to address authorization for those sites on recapitalization once we've got the details in place.
And we essentially don't have a lot of information now, as you alluded. And your testimony mentions a ranking process to identify the new medical centers to be built. Does the VA intend to tell us the results of that ranking process before or after legislation has been enacted?
So I will say that VA does intend to share the tiered ranking that we're working on now. I cannot speak for the timeline of when the legislation may move or in what form, but we do intend to continue to push forward because whether the funding is through the jobs plan or in the future through our regular budget, we do want to ensure we're investing in the right location. So we will share that with Congress.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I yield back my time.